Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. So this video is going to be very important because in this video we are going to cover the interview questions of Cognizant. So as many of you are aware that currently the hiring for Cognizant Gen Z role is going on, and which is for the freshers role, and you know that currently they are hiring, and once the test is over you might get the selection mail, and after that your interview will start happening. So it is very important that you start your interview preparation journey as soon as possible. So let's start with today's video and let's see what all are the major or most important questions that are asked by Cognizant regularly. So before starting the video, if you are new to the channel, please subscribe to the channel as we regularly upload interview preparation related material on our channel. Also, we regularly post off-campus drives on our channel. So if you have not checked the playlist section of our channel yet, please go ahead and check. So in today's video, we are going to cover technical as well as HR round questions both in this video. Whatever are the questions that are asked by the technical interviewer as well as the HR interviewer. So even with the questions we have covered the answers to it, because many people has many confusions regarding what to answer for the questions that are asked. So we have also covered or kept some of the basic answers, but it is not mandatory that you should give the same answers in the interview. If you already know that concept, you can answer it in your own way. So let's start with the first question. So as always, the first question will be introduce yourself, which should be including your internships and project. So how can you say this? Good morning sir, I am so and so. I am pursuing my final year in computer science engineering at ABC College. I maintain a CGPA of 8.9%. I completed my schooling in XYZ with 95% in 12th and 93 in 10th. So make sure if you have a good percentage to showcase, then only keep this line of telling your percentage of 12th and 10th class. If you don't have a very showcasing percentage, you can skip this line. I always believe in hard work and I go with the words of Edison. Genius is just 1% inspiration and 99% perspiration. I am very dedicated to my work. I can adapt easily to any kind of environment, and that's where my strengths stand. I like to be creative. My hobbies are listening to music, playing cricket. My short-term goal is to join a software company as a programmer. My long-term goal is to become a project lead within 5 years. Also, add details about your family if you want. It is not mandatory, and make sure while answering that you are confident enough and you don't stammer much in between. So keep a practice of practicing of this introduction beforehand. Okay, write it on a paper and recite it 2 to 3 times so that you don't feel it is the first time while you are speaking, right? So, and the duration of it would be 50 to 60 seconds will be more than enough. Don't try to stretch it much, because the duration of the interview is already fixed, and if you take too much time in introducing, then interviewer might have to interrupt you, and because there are other questions also to ask. So keep these points in mind. Moving on to the next question. Okay, so before moving on to the next question, if you have any doubt related to introduction part, you can ask in the comment section. If you are facing any difficulty while answering any question or anything like that, you can ask in the comment section. Moving ahead to the next question, which is which technologies and languages are you comfortable with? I am comfortable with web technologies such as HTML, CSS, PHP, etc. As I have developed academic projects using these technologies, I would rate myself 4 out of 5. Then I am also comfortable with Java. I have also worked on Java projects. I would rate 3 out of 5 for Java. Self-introspection is very much important before attending the interview. We should be confident enough in our knowledge, but not too confident or overconfident. That will reflect negatively. If you are comfortable with any other language like C++, you can say I am comfortable with C++. And it is not mandatory that you should give ratings by yourself. If the interviewer asks you how would you rate yourself on a particular language, then you could say that I would rate myself 4 out of 5 or 3 out of 5 as per your knowledge about that language. So self introspection is one of the most important feature. Moving ahead, what is the difference between compiler and interpreter? So if you already knows this answer, you can skip this question. If you do not know, let's have a look at the answer. Interpreter translates program one statement at a time, interprets usually take less time to analyze the source code. However, the overall execution time is comparatively slower than compilers. Compiler scans the entire program and translates it as a whole into machine code. Compilers usually take large amount of time to analyze the source code. However, the overall execution time is comparatively faster than interpreters. So the execution time of compilers is faster, but compiler compiles in one go, whereas interpreter interprets one statement at a time. Moving ahead to the next question, what is polymorphism? So many of the previous interview experiences that we have discussed, we know that OOPS is one of the most important concept when we are sitting for a interview of any MNC, be it TCS, Infosys, Capgemini, Cognizant, or any other company. So I would suggest you that please prepare all the principles and all the 4 pillars that are present in OOPS, so that you don't have any problem while answering your interview questions, because it is for sure that you will definitely get questions from the OOPS. Okay, so let's see the answer for this question. Polymorphism is an object-oriented programming concept that refers to the ability of a variable, function, or object to take multiple forms. In a programming language exhibiting polymorphism, class objects belonging to the same hierarchical tree inherited from a common parent class may have functions with the same name but with different behaviors. So this is what known as polymorphism. Moving ahead to the next question, what is encapsulation? Again, another topic from OOPS. In object-oriented computer programming languages, the notion of encapsulation or OOPS encapsulation refers to the building of data along with the methods that operate on that data into a single unit. Many programming languages use encapsulation frequently in the form of classes. A class is a program code template that allows developers to create an object that has both variables and behaviors. A class is an example of encapsulation in computer science, in that it consists of data and methods that have been bundled into a single unit. So this is what meant by encapsulation. So currently we are looking at some technical round questions. Next is, what is abstraction and relation between abstraction and data encapsulation? So the answer for this question can be, abstraction is the process of hiding the internal details of an application from the outer world. Abstraction is used to describe things in simple terms. It is used to create a boundary between the applications and the client programs. Abstraction is the method of hiding the unwanted information, whereas encapsulation is a method to hide the data in a single entity or unit along with the method to protect the information from outside. So it is very important to know the difference between abstraction and data encapsulation, because many times many students have confusion between these two questions. So you can answer accordingly, and make sure the answers that we are giving, the duration of these answers should not exceed more than 30 seconds, because these are not too long questions. These are like simple 1 paragraph answer questions. So make sure that you don't give a very long answer. If you know the topic, just try to cover it in 30 or max 35 seconds. And if the interviewer wants you to say more, the person will ask you that please go ahead and explain a little bit in more detail. In that case, you can go ahead further and explain in detail. So moving ahead to the next question, which is OOPS versus procedural programming. So you have to give the difference between object-oriented programming versus procedural programming. So let's see the differences one by one. So the first difference is, in procedural programming, the program is divided into small parts, which is called as functions. In object-oriented programming, the program is divided into small parts, which are called as objects. The second difference is, procedural programming follows a top-down approach, whereas object-oriented programming follows a bottom-up approach. Third is, there is no access specified in the procedural programming. Object-oriented programming has access specifiers like private, protected, and public. The fourth difference is, adding new data and functions is not easy in procedural-oriented programming, whereas adding new data and functions is easy in object-oriented programming. So apart from this, there are many more differences, but from the interviewer's perspective, we have kept a small answer for this question because we don't want to stretch much. Moving ahead to the next question. So again, very much important topic, data structures. You can expect questions in your interview from the data structures and algorithms. So make sure that you know basic information about each data structure. Moving ahead to the question, what is a linked list? A linked list is a data structure that has sequence of nodes where every node is connected to the next node by means of a reference pointer. The elements are not stored in adjacent memory locations. They are linked using pointers to form a chain. This forms a chain-like link for data storage. Each node element has two parts, that is a data field and a reference to the next node. The first node in the linked list is called as the head, and the last node in the list has the pointer to null. Null is the reference field which indicates the node is the last node. When the list is empty, the head is a null reference. So if the list is empty, that is there is no node, so the head will point to a null reference, or head itself will be a null reference. Moving ahead to the next question, limitations of an array. The dimension of an array is determined the moment the array is created and cannot be changed later on. So you must be knowing that whenever we are declaring or initializing an array, we need to mention the dimensions beforehand. So this is one of the limitations of array, because sometimes what happens is, even if you want to store 5 units of data, then but beforehand we don't know how much units of data needs to be created, and if suppose we have allocated 10 units of memory, then if we have stored only 5 units of data, the remaining 5 units will be wasted. So that is why this is one of the limitations of array. The array occupies an amount of memory that is proportional to its size, independently of the number of elements that are actually of interest. If you want to keep the elements of collection ordered and insert a new value in its correct position or remove it, then for each such operation we may need to move many elements. On the average, half of the elements of the array, this is very insufficient. So for example, if you know that you have to insert 10 elements in an array, now what you have done initially is you have allocated 10 units of space for an array. Now when you were assigning the values, you got to know that there is the need for 12 units of data, but your array size is only 10. Then in that case, what needs to be done is the size of array needs to be doubled. So this is again one of the drawback of array. Moving ahead to the next question, how that is the limitations of array are overcome by linked list, and what is linked list? So we know that linked list overcomes the limitations of array, but in what way? So this question is about that only. So let's answer this question. We are not going to answer what is linked list basically in this question, because we have already answered this question in the one of the previous questions. So let's see the answer for this question. Linked list can be defined as a collection of objects called nodes that are randomly stored in the memory. A node contains two fields, that is data stored at the particular address, and the pointer which contains the address of the next node in the memory. The last node of the list contains pointer to the null. Linked list is a data structure which can overcome all the limitations of an array. Using linked list is useful because it allocates memory dynamically. All the nodes of a linked list are not contiguously stored in the memory and linked together with the help of pointers. So all the nodes of linked list are non-contiguously stored, which means that they are not stored in a particular sequence or at the same positions. They can be stored at any point in the memory, but they are linked together with the help of pointers of linked list. Sizing is no longer a problem, since we do not need to define its size at the time of declaration. List grows as per the program's demand and limited to the available memory space. So the drawback which we had in array, that was the sizing has to be declared initially only. That limitation is also overcome by the linked list. So that is why the limitations of arrays are overcome by linked list. Moving ahead to the next question, what is null pointer? A null pointer is a pointer that does not point to any memory location. It stores the base address of the segment. The null pointer basically stores the null value, while void is the type of the pointer for null pointer. Moving ahead to the next question, again one more difference which is between the method overloading versus method overriding. So let's understand the answer. Method overloading is a compile time polymorphism. Method overriding is a runtime polymorphism. Method overloading helps to increase the readability of the program, whereas method overriding is used to grant the specific implementation of the method which is already provided by its parent class or superclass. Method overloading occurs within the class, whereas overriding is performed in two classes with the inheritance relationship. Method overloading may or may not require inheritance. Method overriding always needs inheritance. Moving ahead to the next question. So questions from the academic projects were asked, and like we have kept some examples of what are the common questions that are asked from the project perspective. So the first question that can be asked is, what is your project? So you have to answer the name of your project. That is like example, my project name is security management. The next question that can be asked is, what is the purpose of the project? So you can answer it in this way. The main purpose of this project is to check user authentication and user management. This project is main part of our product. What is your project functions? This project supports user access, user authentication, user and group management, security audit functions. So you have to tell the features of your project basically. How many members worked in your project? So you have to answer. If it is an individual project, you can say there was only one member. Otherwise, if it is a group project, you can mention the number of teammates in that project. That is 3 members. What is your role in the project? Customer document review, team management, design, coding and unit, or IT testing. So whatever the task that you have performed in the project, you can mention that. And make sure to know all of these details before sitting for the interview, because during interviews many times main focus is on projects. So that is why it is very much important. Even if you have not performed much task in your project, but make sure to have a complete understanding of your project, so that you should have some content to speak in the interview. Moving ahead to the next question. Will you be able to relocate? So again, a very much important HR question that is mainly asked in all of the MNC's interview rounds. So you can say that basically above all, any employer expects his or her employee to work more as it brings good outcomes for the company. Thus showcase them how adaptable and how hard worker you are. While answering this question, as an example, you can tell your previous experiences, like how you have faced and accomplished the given task within the stipulated period of time. Through this question, the interviewer will come to know how committed you are to your assigned work. So you should always say that yes, I am ready to relocate. I don't have any problem, because even though they might not give you a different location, but in most of the MNC's company, the project locations are at different locations, and it might be a case that you need to relocate to your customer location. So that is why this question is regularly asked, and you should say yes, because if you say no, it might give a negative impact to the interviewer. Moving ahead to the next question. Are you okay with night shifts? So again a very much important question and a very commonly asked question. So you should always say yes, because you might get some project in which there are rotational shifts, but it is not sure that you are definitely going to get that. But a good answer for this question would be yes, because it will give a positive impact on the interviewer that yes, you are ready to work and you are willing to work. So answer accordingly. Moving on to the next question, which is, gave me 2 numerical aptitude questions to solve within 5 to 6 minutes. So many a times in Cognizant interview round, the interviewer asks the candidate to solve 1 or 2 aptitude question or verbal ability question. So this can be a case with you. Don't worry if you are not able to solve the question. Try solving it from your own. Even if you can't solve the question, it is okay, because what they want to notice is how much confident you are and how much time you are taking to solve it, and what are the thinking approaches you are applying. So make sure that you even speak what you are thinking while answering the question. Moving ahead to the next question. Okay, so with this we have completed today's interview experience, which was of company Cognizant. I hope this video has helped you in some way, and if you feel that you are benefited from this video, please give it a like and share it amongst your friends who are preparing for the Cognizant company. Also, if you have not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead and subscribe to it, and you can also check the playlist section of our channel. Thank you and all the best for your upcoming interview. If you have not followed us on Instagram yet, please follow, as we regularly post updates on our Instagram channel. You can also ask your doubts in the DM section. Also, if you have not yet subscribed to our Telegram channel, please go ahead and subscribe to it. You will get the links in the description box.